What's up everybody, NFX here with another tutorial. This tutorial I'm going to talk about chord progressions and what they are and how they relate to scales, and hopefully it'll make sense, and this won't be an extremely long tutorial. First of all, what a chord progression is a sequence of chords that are strung together. Okay, so in other words, let me load up a sound. Here we'll go with an FL keys sound. Let's say I have a chord like this, and then I might go to another chord, to another chord, to another chord. Okay, so when I string those together, I'm going to play them a little bit faster. You can hear that they kind of flow from one to the next. And that's the progression. That's the way it works. Just like with melodies, you want to make your chords go from a root location or a starting chord, change, and then somehow come back to that root chord or that starting chord, so that it does like a loop. Okay, and it sounds good looping it, because you might, if I took this chord progression here, but let's say I'm going to play those same chords but in a slightly different order. It might not sound quite as flowing, quite as natural. So you have to be aware of that. And then the last chord you play before repeating your progression again, you want it to kind of flow into that starting chord again. Like that kind of has a flow to it. But if I played this, that really doesn't flow back into itself, you know. So kind of be aware of that. Now, the important thing about chord progressions, and again, this is a general rule. I hate saying that this is a set rule, but it's followed most of the time. But in music, there really are no rules. But as a general rule, your chords are all built on the same notes within the scale you're playing. So if you saw my tutorial on scales, you'll know what the scales are for. You know, they're for basically setting the tone of your song. Minor scales have more of a sad feeling or a darker feeling, and major scales are happier, and etc. There's blues scales and whatnot. So, but what you're going to do is that when you know what scale you're in, you're going to build your chords basically of notes only within that scale. And there's rules for doing that, for building the different chords, and I'm not going to talk about chords in this tutorial. But just be aware of that. And the reason why will become apparent in a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a simple drum pattern going here, which we'll just do it for 4 bars. This is what the pattern looks like. It's just a boom bap with a hi-hat going across the top here. I'll lower the volume on some of this. And it's mostly just to help me keep time. Then I'm going to go into pattern 2. And in pattern 2, I'm going to make sure that my keys generator is selected. I'm going to put it into song mode. I'm going to hit record. Then I'm going to record the chord progression. So there you can see the chords, and it's just going to repeat. So when it repeats, it's just going to sound like it's in a loop. It's going to keep going. So there we go. I'm going to play it it's a 2-bar pattern, so I'm going to play it twice to give me my 4 bars. And let's just play it, hear what it sounds like. Okay, now let's say we want to add a little bass line to it. Well, doing the bass line is going to be really easy now, and if you've seen my bass line tutorial, I basically am going to tell you what that says in about a minute here. But all we're going to do is we're going to follow along with the chord progression. Now if we go look at these chords for a minute, it may not be obvious to you if you don't know your chords, but basically what we're looking at is 4 different chords. We're looking at an A minor chord in this section. Whoops. In this section here, that's an A minor chord. You can see it has the A, the C, and the E. Then this next chord here is a D chord, D minor chord, and it's got normally a D minor chord. If you start on the D, you would play it like this. But we're taking that top note and we're going to play it down here. And the reason why we do that is because it's easier to transition from the A to the D by just shifting those 2 top notes. Otherwise it would sound like this, which is a little too much. If we just think about the root notes though, forget about the major and the minor. The root notes are A, D, G, and C. Okay, so that's what we're going to do with the bass line. A, D, G, and C. Okay, so let me go ahead and record that. All right, so there we have it. Now, the thing about a bass line in this case is we can, obviously, we're going to start off just following our chord progression, but then your goal is to basically take this and then fill it in a little bit more later. So you might go from just this basic 4-note thing to something like something like that. And actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to record that in a clone channel. Let me take that off. Okay, so I'm going to hit record, and you're going to see how we started with basically those notes, and then we're going to end up with a better bass line out of it by following the chord progression. Okay, so I put that kind of little fill here. But you can see with our grade ghost channel in the back that I basically followed our progression. That's all I did. And now we've gotten a slightly better bass line out of it. Now you might want to do more or less with it. It's up to you. But I'm just trying to demonstrate the point. Now the other thing, actually let me put this in the playlist. Now the other thing is that when you follow a chord progression and you use the rule where all the chords are within the same scale, and in this case we're talking about an A minor scale, which I like to use for demonstration because it consists of all the white keys on the keyboard starting on the A. That's the A minor scale right there. And what I can do now is I'm not going to think about following the chord progression. I'm just going to do something with those keys and try to make a melody out of it. Something like that. As a matter of fact, just as an exercise, I'm going to take off my chord progression and bass line, and I'm just going to record some melody freestyle without hearing my chord progression, but I'm going to do it in the A minor scale. something like that, okay? And the reason why I let it hang here is because I know that's going to lead down back into the A and it's going to repeat. I'm going to quantize this because I think I played it a little bit sloppy. But there we go. So it's another 2-bar loop in pattern 4. I'm going to put my chords back in and my bass line back in, and then we're going to hear how this melody sounds with, and actually I'm going to move that melody up an octave so it's not in the way of my my chords. And I'll leave the FL keys window up just so we can see that. And I'm going to hit play. So you can hear how I've used the A minor scale. I've made a chord progression based off chords all built within notes, only within that scale. My bass line is also built using that method, but I'm primarily following the root note of the chords, and my melody just kind of freestyles anywhere in the scale that it wants to go. And everything sounds like it fits. Now, I know it's not the best song you've ever heard, but that's not my point. My point is chord progressions, the way they work, and the results you can get with them. It makes your song a lot more interesting to have a progression in it. The other thing chord progressions do in closing is you can change them up for the verse and the chorus. So you have one sequence going for the verse, and then you shift that out a little bit. You tweak it a little bit. You go somewhere else. You'll keep it in the same scale, but you'll play them in a different sequence or a different rhythm. Here I've just done a straight 4 on the floor rhythm. No fancy playing in it, but you can do whatever you want. Just follow these basic rules, expand on them, and the sky's the limit for you. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful and can use it to your benefit. And if you ever need more tutorials or just want to hook up with some people that are also like you know, wanting to learn and absorb anything and everything about making music, come on by my website, www.warbeats.com. We've got everything you need there. We've got project files, sample kits, drum kits, user forums. So come on by, check out warbeats.com, enjoy the community there. And this is NFX saying